So today I'm going to talk about how to become a self-taught quant. So if you're someone interested in making a career in quantitative finance, you will find this video quite useful. So if you haven't done a master's degree in quantitative finance, or you do not have a formal qualification in quantitative finance, or for that matters any finance, and you're still interested in getting into finance, this is a video for you, because this will cover how you can learn quantitative finance by yourself, and you can work in the financial service industry in various areas of financial service industry, whether it's asset management, or in the trading world, or in the banking, insurance, fintech world. The career is very lucrative. So if you are interested in something that in quant finance, this will be useful. So what is quant finance or quantitative finance? Well, if you're new to this term, right, if you're hearing for the first time, let me give a brief introduction about what is quantitative finance. So quantitative finance combines mathematics or mathematical modeling, computer programming, coding, and various areas of finance. And it can be any area, whether it's asset management, high frequency trading, lending, different types of lending, and insurance, uh, payment, and so on. So it can be any area of finance that uses mathematical models, statistical models, to solve problems in the field of finance, right? So the quants actually work at different financial service organizations, namely banks, the trading firms, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, insurance companies, fintechs, payment companies, and so on. So there are hundreds of such companies out there, and banking financial service industry is perhaps one of the biggest industry in the world, and it employs like millions of quants, and therefore it's a lucrative opportunity, especially for people those who come from mathematical background. So if you are someone who has strong interest in mathematics or statistics or machine learning, computer science, physics, or econometrics, you will find this career very suited for you, and you can make a good career out of it. Not many people are aware of this particular career option. I have spoken to many people who do PhD in physics, maths, and statistics. People who are struggling to get opportunities in academia, they have no clue how they can get jobs in industry. And this is one particular career option that you can explore if you are coming from a maths, physics, or computer science or engineering background, but not interested to work as a researcher or work in the academia, but you're more inclined towards the real world, the applied world, the corporate world. This is one area you could explore. There are of course other areas, for example software engineering, data science, and so on, but this is one area that combines your interest in mathematics, also has software or coding involved, at the same time finance as well. So it combines all three, right? And quants normally have a background, academic background of mathematics, statistics, engineering, and physics, and so on, economics as well. um, so it's a very interdisciplinary area, by the way. It uses physics equations, computer science, algorithms, coding languages, Python, C++, and Java, but also it uses a number of economics and finance theories as well. In order to learn quantitative finance, there are many options that are available, and you can choose one of these options. The most popular one is to go ahead with a formal qualification, which is to go for a full-time degree. There are many full-time degrees in quantitative finance. Not all countries have these programs, but certainly in the US and in European countries, you have full-time master's program in quantitative finance. You normally do not find quantitative finance being taught as a specialization at undergraduation level, but at post-graduation level, yes, you will find quite a number of such programs. There are programs such as Master in Quantitative Finance, Master in Financial Engineering. By the way, Quantitative Finance is also known as Financial Engineering. They're the same, right? There's hardly any difference. There are also programs like Masters in Mathematical Finance, Masters in Financial Economics, and so on. Okay, some programs can be more mathematical than the others. So the academic details you can obviously explore. Some programs are more suited for heavily mathematics folks. Some programs are more suited for computer science folks, and some programs are more suited for economics folks. So there is a degree of difference in terms of the mathematical rigor, but most students coming out of these programs, they end up working either at banks, insurance firms, or at asset management firms. The second option is to explore certifications, that you instead of going for a full-time degree, which can be very expensive and can be very time-consuming. In the US, full-time programs can be 2 years. In Europe, it can be 1.5 years to 2 years. Let's go for certifications which are shorter in durations. So that is one other option. There are not many good certifications. One good one is the CQF one, which is delivered from London. Cost quite a lot of money, and it's a good one, but there are also issues with this program. For example, this program is not always suited for absolute beginners, and it's quite expensive also for absolute beginner. It can be a problem. I mean, it's not a full-time master's program, and yet it cost more or less equal to that of what it cost to do a master's program, although not exactly the same, but at least 50-60% of that. So that's not always a good thing. That's not always an option for many people. The third option is to teach yourself, right? Without going for either a master's program, full-time master's program, or these expensive certifications. Can you teach yourself? Yes, that's possible, and this is the topic of this particular video. I'm going to tell you how to do that. There are things which you should be knowing actually before even starting to learn quantitative finance, and what are the do's and don'ts I'm going to discuss in the next few slides. Okay, self-teaching is possible, right? But you will be overwhelmed with information if you start searching on YouTube or on Google, because there's just too many details out there on the internet about this particular career option, right? Some people think that quants only work in trading firms, they work in high frequency trading firms, and then it's very difficult for you to then sort of connect. Okay, you are a physicist, how do you understand high frequency trading, right? So connect that dot is very, very difficult for someone like that. But that's actually not true, right? Quant finance is not just about doing high frequency trading. Quantitative finance is used in almost all areas of finance. You can name it. It's much broader than just doing high frequency trading, although high frequency trading is one really good area where quants prefer working. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of everything. That is everything. The quant finance world is bigger than that, right? Some people actually think that quant finance is more about software development, but software developers working in the field of finance. That's also not necessarily true, although many quants work as software developers in various areas of finance. Normally people call them as quant developers, who are not quant per se, but since they work as software developers in quantitative areas, they are called as quantitative developers. Okay, you could also call them as quants. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that also, but that's also not true that quantitative finance is all about software development in the finance world. Some people might say, okay, so quantitative finance is about doing regulatory risk management, model development work. That's also not true. Definitely, it is quite a big area within quant finance world, but quant finance also has other areas to explore. So it's a very broad field. That's exactly what I'm trying to say here. And as a beginner, someone who is exploring or try to sort of explore this area, this can be very overwhelming when you go through various videos and blogs and so on. right? The first thing I would like to tell you is that don't worry about the sub areas, the different specializations, the different areas of work. Don't worry about it. You really need to learn a bit about everything, and then try your luck, get your first job, get experienced, and get meet as many people as possible within the industry, and get to know about the industry more and more from them. Only then you'll be able to figure out where you fit and where you want to specialize. You won't be able to do that right away as a beginner. That will take some time. So you're not the only one who is getting overwhelmed with so much of information out there. There are many people. Everybody who starts out, who doesn't have a formal qualification in quant finance, will go through this phase, right? That's not a problem at all. Quite huge, right? Let me tell you that most quants are self-taught. At least the ones that I have worked with over the last 1 decade, most are self-taught quants. Most come from heavy mathematical background: physics, maths, computer science, engineering, economics, econometrics, and so on. So it's quite possible that you can learn quantitative finance yourself, right? But it's definitely not for everyone, right? Not everyone can learn things on their own, right? You need to attend boot camps, or you need to go through a full-time program, or you need to do certifications and so on. So I'm not suggesting everyone to become a self-taught quant, right? If you have money and time, I would highly recommend you to go for a full-time master's program at a good university. That's a great investment, but provided you have enough money and resources, and you have time for it, right? If you are a experienced professional, you don't want to quit your job, right? Certification is a good option, provided you are able to arrange money. But if you really want to go in more frugal way, I think the more inexpensive way to do that is to learning through books and videos and short courses and so on. Okay, and you can do that quite easily in your spare time. It will take probably about 6 to 12 months, depending on how much time you are going to be able to put in. 3-4 months will be sufficient to get started, to learn the basics, but it will take another few months to hone your skills a bit. But it's quite possible. If you're willing to put in about 6 months, it's quite possible that you can learn quantitative finance and through different. It's quite possible. You have to learn from different books and blogs and videos, but you can also go for short courses which are tailored made for people interested in a career in the industry, in the financial service industry. And there are also other things that I'll be talking about, how you can sort of improve your learning experience if you're yet self-taught, if you want to be a self-taught quant, right? So one really good book is there's so many books from Paul Wilmot, who actually runs the CQA program, but he's also an author and well-recognized author in the quant finance world. His books are actually good, but not necessarily friendly for beginners, especially the ones who do not have a very strong mathematical background. And his books are also a bit skewed towards one part of quant finance, which is about derivatives and pricing of derivatives, right? See, he wrote most of these books 20-30 years back. Those days derivatives were very popular. I mean, they're still there, but they're much less popular than they used to be 20 years back. But nevertheless, the books from Paul Wilmot are amazing. And if you really can digest the mathematics, then go ahead in reading his books. Can be very thick actually, and quite time taking, quite intimidating. I'm not scaring you, but his books can be a bit intimidating, but good books, right? There are other books also, right? I think you can just pick any book. It doesn't have to be just Paul Wilmot's book. In fact, what I found is that as a beginner, I would prefer learning from authors who are not so famous, because the famous authors try to make things very complicated, but the not so famous authors, right, they keep it very simple. And try to learn from authors who have industry experience, because they are the one who actually have done the work in the industry. most people, especially the professors who write this the heavy theoretical books, they tend to make things very theoretical, and that's not always a good thing for many, and also can be very challenging to read and understand, so on. Right. There are quite a number of books on machine learning on Wheelies, right? They have their own website. You can just go read on, and you can take subscription. You don't have to purchase books, right? Nowadays, you can even take subscription from Willy, and a monthly subscription. You can read as many books as possible on Willy. So that's one good source, and not just machine learning, right? Just type in introduction to quant finance and so on. Just read the books. You will not understand everything, but just read and try to understand it 30-40% of the books. That is good enough. There may be some books on risk modeling. You can also watch many videos on YouTube, but can also read many blogs on Medium, but also on different personal blogs on risk modeling, like credit market risk modeling and so on. And the thing is that it's very important to know that you cannot be a specialist when you are starting out, right? It's impossible to be a super duper specialist, right? This is one difference between learning, let's say, computer programming to become a software developer, and learning to become a quant. In programming, right, you just specialize on one area, right? You become a Java developer or a Python developer. You just learn that particular language in and out, and then go for interviews. That's not how you should do that in quant finance. You can never be an expert when you are starting out. So it's very important, therefore, to learn a bit about everything, right? And find your first job. As a beginner, nobody is expecting you to be an expert. As long as you have a strong mathematical background, you can answer questions from probability, statistics, and coding, and you have some understanding of finance and quant finance, statistical modeling, and uses of statistical modeling in the field of finance. You understand a bit of derivative pricing. That's good enough to get your first job. After that, you explore where you want to specialize, and do not specialize in one area. Specialize in more than one area, at least 2-3 areas. But that will take a couple of years time to do that, right? Minimum 5-6 years. But when you are starting out, right, if you want to go into depth in every topic that you learn, you will never be able to finish anything, and things can be very overwhelming, and then you will simply quit. You will not make any progress. So even if you understand 30-40% of a book, just read it once more if possible, but just move on. Read some other books, right? Don't try to understand everything when you are as a beginner, right? And don't be scared with the finance jargons. This is one issue I have experienced teaching many students in the past. Many people coming from heavy scientific and mathematical background, they get scared with the finance jargons. But let me tell you, you'll eventually be familiar with all these finance jargons. So don't worry too much about those things. Okay, I've spoken about the issues and what you should and shouldn't do, but let me dive a bit further on into what issues you could face as someone interested in learning quant finance on your own. Well, as I've said, it's a very broad area, right? It covers a number of topics like statistics, mathematics, and computer science, algorithms, machine learning, and so on, stochastic calculus, and so. But so it's a very broad area, right? If you really want to sit down and learn everything, it can be a big challenge because so many things to cover, right? It's quite overwhelming actually, because the number of things to cover, and that's the reason why you need a mentor. Okay, you need a mentor, somebody who will guide you, somebody who will tell you, okay, you just have to learn these few things out of this entire book, right? Somebody who can just tell you and guide you a bit, and someone preferably who is working in the industry and was experienced of working in the industry for at least 10-15 years. The mathematics used in many of these books and videos can be extremely difficult for some people who are coming from less mathematical background. People who come from engineering or economics, people from physics and maths and computer science, I understand they may not have that issue, but people who are mathematical but they have lost touch with heavy mathematics, they for them it can be a bit challenging, right? So you need a bit of help with that, and that can be a bit intimidating. And most books are actually theoretical. That's a problem. That's the perhaps the biggest problem I see if you want to become a self-taught quant. To be able to connect the theoretical topics that you learn in the books and the videos and the blogs, and to connect that to some real world use cases is a big challenge for someone who is learning on his or her own, right? And the most perhaps the biggest challenge is that when you are learning on your own, right, you do not have a sequence to follow, right? The learning is very unstructured. It's not very structured. You do not know what topic to start, what topic, I mean, what is the sequence of the topics to follow, and that can be very, very challenging to many people. So I'll tell you as to how you can sort of avoid. Okay, what I always suggest is that if you're going for self-learning, make sure that you speak to someone who has been in this industry for some time. At least you can guide you as to what topics to learn, what topics not to learn, how much to learn, and so on. Okay, so getting a bit of a guidance for someone is very, very important, therefore, right? So try to get in touch with someone for professional help on a regular basis. If you're putting in 6 months time, try to get in touch with a couple of times in the 6 months. If you can also learn from a well-structured course, that's also a good option. You don't have to break your bank for that. Just make sure that the course is within a couple of $100 range. I mean, it's not like $15,000 or $20,000 like some of the certifications cost you. If a course is within like 200 300 US dollar, then or maybe even cheaper than that, it's better to take a good course and do it, because that courses are normally well structured, right? There are also some courses on Udemy which are even much cheaper. You could also explore that option. If you are not confident reading books, Paul Wilmot books, which are very technical, try to learn more simpler books. On Willy you can find simpler quant finance books also. Start with that, right? That's also an option. But always try to do a couple of real world use cases while you are learning, right? And try to solve some problem, right? The problems in finance are very simple actually, right? It's about making profit and saving cost and making sure that your portfolio is diversified and there's not a lot of risk in your portfolio, whether it's a lending portfolio or a trading portfolio. It's all about common sense, right? If you ever taken a loan from a bank or you are doing trading yourself, I'm quite sure you are already familiar with some of this stuff. Try to use mathematics to solve problems and write some code and do some activities, things you can show to the interviewer while giving the interview. All right, the things that I will which are important things to know before you get started. Okay, so unless you are from a heavy mathematical background, you're coming from a heavy mathematical background, then I would recommend not to go for self-teaching. Go for a classroom teaching or do some courses, certifications. If you have a strong mathematical background, then yes, you can go for learning on your own. That's one. Okay, many people do not learn finance and just focus on quantitative topics, right? That's a mistake. Even though for many beginner level jobs you do not need to be an expert in finance, but you need to know some finance. So good to learn some finance, right, next to topics in quantitative modeling. And as I've said, I repeat again, don't try to learn everything in depth as a beginner. You'll eventually learn one or two area of quant finance in depth if you want to specialize later on, but should not do that right at the beginning. And make sure that you practice coding. Quantitative finance is becoming more and more coding driven nowadays, but coding has become less challenging these days thanks to ChatGPT and all the AI tools. So if we were intimidated with coding maybe 10 years back, now is your chance to learn coding, because it's much easier nowadays, right? You will not be worried too much about the syntax and making mistakes with the syntax. As long as you have a bit of a logic and your sense of logic, you can easily write code now, or at least compile code and see for yourself the results and so on. So it's much easier nowadays. So picking up this coding skills has become much easier nowadays. Do not try to be an expert in one area. Once you land in a job, try to explore more than one area, because it's a bit risky nowadays to specialize in one area. But then first few years, just work on something, then move to something else, and try to be an expert in 2-3 areas in about 5-6 years time. And then look for opportunities beyond just trading, because many students, my own students, but also I read on different social media platforms, they're all interested in trading. They want to work as a quant in trading. Absolutely, it's a great opportunity. As a quant, I think the biggest, or perhaps the most interesting area to work on is trading. There's no doubt about it. But there are other interesting areas also. For example, you can work at pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, mutual funds. You could work at insurance firms, or rating agencies. Banks provide good opportunity to quants, so you could also explore career there as well. All right, if you have any further questions, you can reach out to me. I do have a course as well, and I think if you are on this channel sometime, you know that I also provide a course on quantitative finance and risk modeling, and it covers a number of topics, from financial econometrics to asset pricing to machine learning and use of machine learning in finance, to credit risk modeling, market risk modeling, counterparty credit risk modeling, and climate risk modeling, and so on. So there are a number of things covered. You'll also be learning quantitative trading and asset management. That's also covered. It's very beginner friendly and can be finished in about 4-5 months time. You'll have to put about 100 to 120 hours in order to finish that course. In case you are interested, always welcome to reach out to me in the contact details provided in the description section. Even though you have other questions, let me know either in the comment section, or just drop me an email or reach out to me in whatever ways you want. Thanks, guys.